We are live.
You're live.
We just got done with a doubleheader of Monday Night Football last night.
We did.
We saw Browns versus Steelers and that other forgettable game, the Saints and Panthers. But everyone's leaving Monday night talking about Minkah Fitzpatrick, Nick Chubb, both of which went to the hospital last night for different reasons. Minkah Fitzpatrick had a nasty hit on Nick Chubb that the severity of the injury, we don't fully know yet. I haven't seen anything coming out definitively what the injury is, but we all know it's gruesome and no one wants to see it. Hutch, your initial reactions when you saw it happen?
The Nick Chubb injury, I mean, that was not fun, man, because I was one of the people who unfortunately got cursed and saw the video, and it was just like, I'm really glad because on Monday Night Football and on football in general, the announcers really love to show injuries sometimes. Like the NFL really loves to replay injuries again and again and again. Usually that happens a lot, but I'm glad they didn't this time. I'm glad they just said this video is gross. If you want to see it, you can, but we're not going to show it here because it was brutal. I mean, his knee just bent inward. It was so gross to watch. Man, but yeah, he's going to be out for the year. His knee is destroyed. Multiple ligaments are torn, and that might be the last of like elite Nick Chubb we've seen because he is an older running back. Like that might be the last we've seen of like elite Nick Chubb, sadly.
Most definitely, and this is the same knee that he's had injuries to in the past when he was
torn apart in Georgia. When he
absolutely destroyed it when he was playing college, and you hate to see it. And yet again, it's more evidence of these elite running backs not getting paid, and he will have had several years of elite top end production, and at the end of the day, he's left with the NFL's healthcare plan for life and a small stipend of money over the course of the rest of his career. So hopefully he gets back. He's able to come back, but we'll see. Modern medicine's doing amazing things lately. We'll see what ends up happening, but I doubt we see him on the football field again in 2023.
Yeah, that wouldn't be shocking if he doesn't see the football field in 2023. That, like I said, this could be the end of elite Nick Chubb. But moving towards the rest of the Browns' backfield, what do we think of Jerome Ford moving forward? Because obviously he is probably the hottest waiver wire ad on the week. He's somebody that people are going after. I mean, me and my dad were talking before I got on the show here about Jerome Ford. We're both in a home league together, and we were talking. Because we're both in the home league. We're both big against each other. So we're like secretly messing with each other on what we're going to bid and talking about how we're going to do this because it's a blind bidding system with the fab. So we were just messing with each other about Jerome Ford. How in should we be on Jerome Ford? Because, Jerome Ford, he looked really impressive in the back and with his touches, 16 carries, 106 yards, got in the end zone. He was really, really impressive. But obviously there are names out there. They have Jonathan Taylor out there for a trade, which I don't know if the Browns can make that move, but it's out there. You have Cam Akers, who's been put on the trade block, and you have Kareem Hunt, you have Leonard Fournette, you have a variety of free agents available. It's just there are so many names that could be added to this backfield that there's a danger that there would be one added. But how do you feel about Jerome Ford, Pat?
I'm in on Jerome Ford. I was in on him throughout the offseason. I thought he was
I like it.
I was excited to see him as the RB2 in Cleveland, and as names got signed throughout the offseason, I was like, all right, one less spot that can hurt Jerome Ford. One less name that can hurt Jerome Ford over and over and over again. And we hear the news of Kareem Hunt being rumored to have worked out or tried out again for the Browns. We saw what Kareem Hunt did last year and how it looked to be a full step backwards in the wrong direction. Even if he does sign, I'm not worried about its effect on Jerome Ford. I think it's Jerome Ford's backfield, and we're going to see the Browns having to go with him. Hopefully what that'll lead to, though, is more passing work. Jerome Ford's a little bit better of a pass catcher, and hopefully more of an air offense, and Deshaun Watson coming back to form. Deshaun Watson has not looked good in his now 8 games since suspension.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's funny, man. I mean, I've said it multiple times on this show specifically, on Twitter, and every other podcast I've been on that I've talked about Deshaun Watson, and I've gotten so much hate for saying it all offseason, but I've always said that I don't think Deshaun Watson's ever going to play his Houston Texan level football ever again. I've said that's a really realistic possibility. And after 2 weeks of football, I mean, what else are you thinking at this point? Because he has not just not played his Houston Texan level football. He's been playing like one of the mediocre quarterbacks in the league. He really has looked terrible. He hasn't completed 60% of his passes. He's completed 55 on average. He's on pace to throw as many touchdowns as interceptions. Like, what do you do? Like, this is just he's playing terrible football.
I see the rushing value that he brings to
the rushing value
is much diminished compared to 2 years ago. Sorry, almost 3 years ago now in Houston.
Yeah.
The last time we saw him play consistent, meaningful football. I don't know. I feel like in Dynasty, his value has to be dropping in Superflex leagues. And how far is he free falling? When we see people that were ranked shortly behind him, Bryce Young hasn't performed great to start off his NFL career. Daniel Jones has been rough the first 3 halves of the year of games this year. He turned it around second half on Sunday.
He did. He turned it around.
But is that enough to say, oh, hey, he's jumping over to Deshaun Watson? I don't think so. Anthony Richardson hasn't finished a game yet. We have all these question marks behind him.
He looked really good in the time he's played.
Oh, he did.
He looked, even as a passer, he's looked genuinely impressive. Like, for what we expected, I think he's looked impressive.
I'm looking at Michael Pittman now because I think that he could support Michael Pittman.
There's a chance. Absolutely, there's a chance.
The big concern that we had going into the season was, can he actually support a receiver? Now, given over half of last week's game was Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, I think Pittman actually only had 1 catch with Richardson in that game. I think the rest was Minshew, which was concerning. But
he had 2 drives,
week 1.
2-3 drives in that game.
Yeah, so he only had a couple drives. It was like,
so I'm not overly concerned there, but
yeah.
I know you do Dynasty rankings. I don't know if you've updated with this week yet or not. I know school.
Yeah, I've moved a little bit, but not everything. Watson though is somebody that's going to be moving down. I mean, I've already had him very low. Where is he? Because I've only moved a little bit since the season started.
Would you rather have Dak or Watson?
Dak
for sure.
That's
a clear jump.
That's a clear. Yeah, before the season, Deshaun Watson ranks my quarterback 13. And looking at the names below him, looking at Bryce Young, Sheeta Stroud, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Kirk Cousins, the guys right behind him. I mean, he's probably going to be outside the top 15 by the end of this week for me in Dynasty, which is already really low.
Real question. Jared Goff or Deshaun Watson?
That's actually
both probably around that same age.
Yeah, they're both around they're near the same age. I think there's the only thing that's stopping me, because if Goff was given a contract extension at this point, I would take Goff. I would absolutely take Goff. But I think Goff's future in Detroit is pretty questionable. I mean, obviously, some of them think that a lot of people in Detroit say they think he can win a Super Bowl. I don't think the Lions necessarily see that in him. I don't know if they see that in him after this season. They could easily, try to look for a replacement for him, look somewhere else. They might not have a choice. They might have to stick with Jared Goff. That's really tough, actually. I might lean Jared Goff, honestly. He's played better. He's looked better. Their offense around him is better, and he's been performing better for fantasy football.
Absolutely.
It's just how it's been going, and they're around the same age. And I like Deshaun Watson to me is only decreasing from here. I don't see him getting too much better from here. He's had 2 very reasonable matchups. He has the receiving room around him. It hasn't been ridiculously injured. I don't understand why he's not performing. It's just because I don't think the numbers are okay. The numbers are fine. They're oh, those are not great, but watch him play. Have you gotten to watch a bunch of impact?
Every play I see of him that I constantly see an underthrown
abysmal.
ball.
It's abysmal.
It's jumpy late. It's I saw someone write it today that it feels like he feels the guilt of what he's done, and he feels watched. That paranoia that you get when you feel like someone's watching you, but you don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Watson has that. It's not to the level of Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, but
oh, that's bad.
It's a little concerning because the talent and the ability is there.
I've gone back.
Are there.
Yeah, I've gone back and watched every snap of Deshaun Watson. I've literally today. I went back and watched every snap of Deshaun because I didn't get to catch much of Monday Night Football. But I went back and watched every snap of Deshaun Watson. I found ways to get every snap. There are some throws where it was like, oh shoot, he's back. There were a few. There were a handful. But every other throw, it was like, what are you doing? Or like, what kind of accuracy was that? And not many. He wasn't crazy under pressure. He hasn't been hit at an unbelievable rate. It's just he's not that guy anymore. He just really isn't. And I've tried to say this all offseason, and no one's listened to me. It's literally been my most hated take of the offseason. Like I saw someone posted a TikTok. It was Yards Per Fantasy. They posted a TikTok of their podcast with me on it a while ago. Like I'd recently downloaded TikTok because I'm making this video thing with my girlfriend for I don't know if you've seen it, Pat, but
Kate Slate.
Yeah, we started doing this video thing. I use TikTok to animate the videos, and I saw that they tagged me in the podcast. So I clicked on it. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I looked at the comments, and they were so hateful towards me because it was a video of me talking about Deshaun Watson and how I feel about him for this year. They were so hateful at me. Like so hateful. And I just want to go in the comments and say, where's my apology? Because he's played terrible football. Oh my goodness. It's been insane watching Deshaun Watson. It's not good.
So big takeaways for Browns. Jerome Ford, we're pretty close to emptying the clip on him.
I would. Yeah.
If he's out there.
50+%. Yeah.
But he's not available in any of my leagues. Shut up, he is. He's available in a lot of your standard leagues. Plenty of the 15, 16 person rosters, total rosters.
Yeah,
he's available.
Absolutely.
In your 20 piece roster,
probably not.
Superflex redraft leagues, he's not available. In your dynasty leagues, he's not available. You're not picking him up off waivers. You're likely spending. Someone asked me what's the price on Jerome Ford. I want a second plus. A second.
Yeah, in Dynasty, a second plus sounds valuable. That sounds good enough.
One QB. I want a first. I want a late first.
Yeah, if I'm selling, I want a first. I wouldn't buy for that though.
Yep, and that's fine.
I don't think I'd buy for that, but I'd sell for it. Yeah. Can we pull up this last comment? The comment just pull up. I can pull it up. Yeah, I forgot to pull the comments. I feel like I can't tell if this person's trolling me or not, but thoughts on Akers, because I feel bad. I was just bragging about my Deshaun Watson take, but I also was a bit of an Akers supporter this year. I mean, I've always been an Akers supporter since his college days, since he got in the NFL. The only season I was really out for fantasy was 2022, the year after he tore his Achilles. I just wasn't in, and I was right for that one. But this year I came back in. I came back around Cam Akers because I was just all in on the volume. The volume seemed to be there, and it's just not. Cam Akers, I really just don't know what to do with him in fantasy football. I feel like in Dynasty, you're stuck holding him because if you try to sell him, you're just going to get nothing. No one's going to buy him for anything. The only reason I would sell is if he goes, semi-troll. Yeah, I see it. There we go. Semi-troll, I'm also an Akers stan. There we go. Yeah. It's just really, really difficult with him because if he gets traded to a new team, he has an opportunity to shine. Like, I mean, there have been rumors that the Browns, the Buccaneers, the Vikings have been looking to trade for him. There have been rumors that there have been calls made around the league trying to trade for him, which I don't know how much I believe because so far this year, he's looked terrible and there's something wrong with him mentally because this is not the first time this has happened, everybody. Remember the Rams down the stretch before they gave Akers that massive workload and he shined for fantasy football. Just a couple weeks beforehand, they were trying to trade him. Right before the deadline, they were trying to trade him and get rid of him. And they were saying he's just away from the team right now. We don't know what's going on. That's what was happening. It just doesn't make sense. And I think Akers, he's probably inactive and he's probably stepping away from the team because he's not getting the workhorse volume that he wants. I feel like that's the only reason he stayed with the Rams in the last 6 weeks because they gave him the workhorse volume. I feel like that's what he wants. So I really don't know what's going to happen. If he gets traded to a new team, great. He has an opportunity, and you just hold him in Dynasty all the way through, I think. I'm not selling low. You're just getting the thing.
Was it you that posted the selfie saying you got tricked into Cam Akers again or something like that?
Yeah, I posted something. I said, look, it's the idiot who drafted Cam Akers. I was pointing at myself. Yeah. It was in the mirror. Yeah.
I know someone quote tweeted it saying that they were also on board with that. And I quote tweeted as the person that sold Cam Akers last year after the big games just to get him off my dynasty roster. So I was like,
yeah,
we win some, we lose some.
I was able to sell him in one league. Someone gave me an offer. It was like someone gave me like a first and a second and even more. I think I was like, okay, I'll take that for Akers. But most leagues that I had him, I held him.
So
that didn't pan out.
We kind of already touched on Ed's question for redraft. What percentage of fab are we dropping? Jerome Ford, just about everything, right?
Yeah, I mean it's got to be 50 plus. Like it's got to be 50 plus. Like you got to be willing to pay a lot to get him.
Puka's not available.
Puka is not available.
You might see a Kyren Williams. There's a chance.
Maybe.
Double check your waiver wire.
Absolutely.
See if he's there.
I love what Sleeper does. If you have all your leagues on Sleeper, go to the player and check availability in other leagues and then scroll through. You could see availability in every single league you're in. If you have Sleeper, that's a great tool. I use that for my Sleeper leagues. It's unbelievable. It's a great thing that Sleeper added.
And also with trending, you're going to see a lot of those waiver wire ads for your traditional redraft leagues. You're going to see those guys that everyone else is picking up. It's not super efficient for Dynasty in season, but sometimes you find guys who you're like, oh, I didn't realize this guy was available on waivers.
Yeah.
It helps funnel things a little bit more efficiently.
Absolutely.
Shout out Sleeper. They're not sponsoring the show.
Best fantasy football platform out there. So what I want to shout out one more waiver wire pickup that I don't think is being talked about enough. And in fact, we didn't talk about it. Tank Dell, I think, is going really under the radar. I feel like I've seen no one talking about him, and he's had a great snap share over the last couple of weeks. He's 79% snap share last week, 10 targets, 7 receptions. I mean, Nico Collins has been all the craze lately, and he's been the number one wide receiver for this offense. But if the Texans keep throwing at the rate they're throwing with CeeDee Stroud and the way he's performing, there's going to be room for one, if not two receivers on this offense. And Tank Dell, we know what he did in preseason. He performed really well, even though he wasn't with the first team that much. He performed really well, and he's getting the snaps, 80% snaps. Like, that's just insane. Yep. And I don't think he's on waivers, but I think a buy low right now is Jonathan Mingo, a guy who's seen 87 and 98% of the snaps over the last 2 weeks, 8 targets in last week. Bryce Young isn't performing super well. We all know that, and rookie quarterbacks don't tend to perform. Gets that snap percentage and those level of targets that you in their first 2 weeks, that usually means they're pretty good. So I'd pay attention to Jonathan Mingo as a buy low, both in Dynasty. Someone might be dropping him this week. I wouldn't be shocked by that either.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just hasn't been performing. So we got our next question then. Thoughts on Jordan Addison?
Yeah.
So Kirk Cousins right now is the number one quarterback in fantasy football. I don't know if you know that, Pat. Right now, he's number one in most scoring formats.
Yeah.
He's crushing it.
On pace for what, like 6,000 yards?
Oh, yeah.
50 touchdowns.
Killing it.
0 wins.
Yep, exactly. Their defense is horrible and their offense is amazing, and Kirk keeps throwing the ball a ton because they can't run the football. Alexander Madison's complete garbage. And that's another one I try to warn you about. Alexander Mattison, he's complete trash. But Kirk Cousins is great, and Jordan Addison is clearly overtaken KJ Osborne as the number 2 receiver in Minnesota, and it's going to continue to be that way moving forward. He's only going to get better from here. So if you have Jordan Addison in your rosters, get ready. It's going to be a fun season.
I lost out on the chance to turn like $20 into 200 plus because the one Vikings receiver did not score a touchdown on Thursday night. Was the man who had almost 160 receiving yards, Justin Jefferson, the wide receiver one in fantasy.
Dang.
That was the one piece missing from my parlay. And I saw the last drive. I was like, all right, here we go. Down at the 5, down at the 10, fumble at the 1. The one piece that was missing was Justin Jefferson crossing that.
Oh, the fumble that turned into the fumble that turns into the touchback. Oh my goodness, that was
isn't it amazing how
brutal
that was 5 days ago, but it feels like 3 weeks, just because of how long an NFL weekend is.
It's insane. It wasn't that long ago.
Everyone was ready to. We had Alexander Mattison getting death threats. and all that.
All those comments. Oh my goodness, they were horrible.
All the
racial
these things
slurs and oh man, that was bad. That was bad.
Don't do that. If you're a viewer of the show and you do that, don't watch.
Yeah, please just go away if you do things like that. Please don't.
Justin asks, huge overpay, 1 quarterback, 10 team. London, Charbonnet, Akers, and Dubs for Breece.
Are we thinking Dynasty?
I would assume so.
That's a lot for Breece Hall. That's a lot. But honestly, with the way Akers is looking, I don't mind it.
Charbonnet is clear too.
It was great to see Drake London's usage last week, though. After the 1 target game in week 1, the usage last week kind of established that, okay, he's the number 1 wide receiver. Hopefully continues that way moving forward. We don't know what Arthur Smith likes to do. What's that?
Matt Collins is the one.
Matt Collins, man. He's jacked. Dude, he's jacked. Did you see his tweet, too?
No, I didn't.
Oh, man. Because he absolutely mossed Darnell Savage. Did you see that catch down the field?
Yeah. I know Darnell Savage can't tackle, but for some reason that's a big part of his job and what he gets paid to do. But
yeah, but there was Matt Collins tweeted everybody's a savage until they go one-on-one with a savage or something like that. And it was Matt Collins, the picture of him just mossing Darnell Savage. And it was just like, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good tweet, Mac. You did a good job there. But yeah, he's jacked, dude. Oh my goodness, he's so big. But London's number 1. I'm not worried about Mac Collins.
I feel like I'm not making that overpay.
I wouldn't either.
Dubs is just a guy. Akers feels like just a guy.
Yep.
Zach Charbonnet's still got the draft capital, and we're 2 weeks in.
I love Zach Charbonnet, but it hasn't been great so far. He at least doubled his touches from week 1 to week 2. That's good, but the snap share wasn't significantly up. I'm starting to get a little worried about Charbonnet.
And Breece only got 3 touches too.
Yeah, Breece got 4. 4 touches. 4 carries. And it wasn't 9 yards. Is that what he ended up with?
It was
something dumb like that. It was like 9 yards. It was ridiculous.
But
I think I'd be willing to make this move, but it's definitely an overpay, but I love Breece Hall. I think I'd be willing to overpay for him at this point. But I think you can get him for cheaper. So you probably lost the trade a little bit there because you can get him for cheaper. People are panicking a little bit.
All right. Kid Coop asks, had 1 share of Jerome Ford and 12 team, just straight away for 24 first and Michael Mayer. You did great.
That's great.
You did great.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that 24 first is going to be a late one because the person who made that trade isn't the smartest.
I mean, they could be competing now. I mean, why would you trade for Jerome Ford if you're not competing now?
You've got to, but you're also
not a good manager if you're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're
that's a great trade there. Great job.
Tank Dell or Josh Reynolds? In Dynasty, Tank Dell.
Oh, easily Tank Dell in Dynasty. This week, that's a more interesting question. From all St. Brown's out, that's a really interesting question.
Yep.
Because Josh Reynolds, he's been a valuable flex play the last 2 weeks. He's been somebody that has decent volume and high scoring games.
I think he's extremely underrated.
Yeah, he really is.
I think he's better for real life NFL football for the Detroit Lions than he will ever be for fantasy.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair. I would start Tank Dell in fantasy still. The upside he showed last week on 10 targets was really great to see. So I'll keep Tank Dell. But
I wouldn't mind playing some Josh Reynolds single bets on some of his overs.
Oh yeah, don't mind that at all, especially when Rob misses.
Yeah,
because he's dealing with what was it? Was it a concussion with him? No,
I thought he had turf toe or some toe.
I don't remember. There's been so many concussions this week too, with Waddle, with Adams recently, with Anthony Richardson. What did
Amon-Ra was? We have listed it was cramps.
It was cramps. Okay. Got it.
So, but still, at the very least, I think he's still. Those lines are gonna be set like 2 receptions, and like 25 yards.
Yeah,
I like that for him.
So, do you sell low on Fields? At this rate, he won't be starting by the end of the year. Yeah, if he continues playing like this, he's not going to be the starting quarterback for very long. It was really interesting to see them fire their OC this morning. Did you see that, Pat?
I did not see that happen.
They did fire their OC. They parted ways with him already. at least from what I saw. It's really interesting. I think I'm not saying that the Bears are completely blaming everything in the OC, because when you watch Justin Fields play football, it's impossible to say it's not partially his fault. It's impossible. He's played terrible. He looks really bad. But I think the Bears are giving a little note of confidence to Justin Fields, saying, all right, let's try this again with somebody else and see if we can make it better for you. I think they're trying to commit to him because firing the OC shows that, right? They're at least trying to like give him a nod of confidence a little bit, saying, hey, you've been struggling. We're going to give you somebody new that could help you more.
The overarching idea that I see from this is that their OC and their coaching staff has been trying to fit Justin Fields
into
a square hole of being a pocket passer, no design quarterback runs, especially week 2.
Yeah, I think he's had like 2 or 3 design runs in the year. That's it.
And the rest were
just not what it should be.
Late scrambles, and he's back to taking more sacks.
Yep.
Teams are predicting their plays. The pick 6 at the goal line, the defense said they knew exactly what was coming. They had the play called out for Evan.
Oh, they knew it. Yeah, they knew exactly what was coming.
But if Justin Fields keeps playing like this, and Carolina keeps playing like Carolina's playing, they're gonna have 2 early first-round picks.
Yep,
they can go do whatever they want.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're gonna be able to get quarterback if they both teams keep playing like that.
As opposed to what the market was for Trey Lance, there's actually going to be a market for Justin Fields, because I think teams can see what Justin Fields can be, and they might want.
Yeah, look at his passing numbers in Ohio State. What he did at Ohio State was he was a great passer. Like he was known for his passing in college, and now all of a sudden he gets the NFL and he just hasn't been that guy.
It is nice when you have the longest time to throw at Ohio State.
Yeah,
of any other college quarterback.
You do,
and so one of the things that I've noticed in my study of film is that the helmet scouting of Ohio State quarterbacks is true because they all have a similar problem, and that's they hold on to the ball too long.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to not see that as much from C.J. Stroud. He got rid of a lot of those tendencies in the preseason. He had a lot of bad preseason play where he either took sacks or he threw it away really, really late because he was holding on to the ball too long. And if that can get coached out of you, it does great because you develop the ability to read the field and wait for things to happen. And you're also used to having great wide receivers breaking and getting open and creating separation. And those windows are so much larger than college. And if you're waiting for that big of a window to throw, you're not going to see that when you have Sauce Gardner's in the league playing cornerback.
Yeah.
And so you just don't trust what you see. Is he that open? Is he open enough? Am I confident enough to throw that ball into that window? And I don't think Justin Fields doesn't have that confidence.
No, he doesn't. Did you see the play where it was Roschon? I think it was Roschon Johnson. He was kind of streaking down the field, and he was like right at the goal line, like right inside the 5, and he was just waiting. He was just waiting there, like at the 5-yard line, just like screaming for the ball, and he completely split the safeties. I think it was a 2 safety. I think it was a 2 guys back deep, and he had completely split them, and he was right in the middle, and it was an easy, like he just got bulleted right through the middle. That's a dot for a touchdown. There was nobody in the middle of the field. There's nobody going to intercept that ball. Wide open for Roschon Johnson, and Fields didn't throw it. It was right there. It's just, he's got to not hold on to the ball too long and just trust his instincts and just get rid of the football. Just make that throw.
Yep.
That's what he's got to start doing.
Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler's gone right now. Tyler's currently not here. He's got some personal issues, so he's not on the show. So we're holding out for Tyler. Oh, there he is. Oh,
he's been listening the whole time.
He's back with the team.
He is here. What's up, Tyler?
Tyler's been here the whole time. Tyler's mad.
Uh-oh. Why is
Tyler? Tyler is in consideration of activities and thinking about potential futures. That was it. Go ahead.
Just futures. Okay.
There might, there are many potential changes. How does my mic sound? I feel like it sounds really scratchy.
It sounds fine.
Oh, does it really?
It's good, doing it?
I was just in my own headphones. Okay. No, many things are being considered. The YouTube channel is very expensive. It brings in no revenue whatsoever. So if more people don't watch, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to keep paying for the StreamYard. So, like, we'll have to see. We're going to have to see. I renewed it for the year plan recently, but we'll have to see after that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just been overwhelmed. A lot of people asking me questions on X today. I've ignored all of them. Too busy updating the spreadsheet for my patrons. They got their spreadsheet. It was all done by 2:00. Plenty of time to do that. Didn't have any time for questions on X today. I have too much going on in personal life, which has been awful lately, by the way. For anyone who's wondering, any nice words would be really nice. Really been a great last couple of weeks, personal life wise.
That's me.
But patrons have never been let down. The patrons have never been let down at patreon.com/fantasy advice. They've gotten all their answers. The spreadsheet has been updated many times, and that's all there for you. And if you sign up for Patreon, you can ask questions for the videos that are put on the channel. They're here. But only patrons get to ask questions for those videos. So maybe people should sign up. It would really make me happy. Because, I've definitely done things differently this year. I have not pushed myself on X, especially with the way X is going with Elon Musk at the helm. I have not pushed myself to answer extra questions or work extra hard for people who don't really consider coming here or, signing up for Patreon or anything. So I always appreciate everyone who comes to the YouTube channel. I know that takes up a lot of a lot of time. It's easy to ask a question on X. Hard to come here during the live show. So I appreciate everyone who's been here and, people who continue to be here. I wish that I had a little bit of more of a magic touch with the YouTube algorithm. It's definitely gone out of my favor lately, but I'll keep doing the Patreon show because Ask Tyler, because the patrons, they ask a lot of questions. A few A+ students in the Patreon that I want to thank for asking so many questions. Sunlight Dish Soap, definitely top of my list. And then there's a few others, but Mr. Dish Soap that's a Discord name. Top of the list of A+ students in the Patreon. But I hope I've brought some good there. And I have a new offer. A new offer for anyone interested. I will consider. We can negotiate depending on how much work you want me to do. But we can negotiate whatever you think is fair. I will go in to your league and I'll make the trade offers for you. I'll do it for you. Instead of just telling you what to do, I'll go in and do it for you. I can't promise that people are going to accept it, but I'll do it for you. A new offer. I haven't announced this anywhere. This is the first people are hearing about it. So if you're here on the live show, whether you're a patron or not, a new offer. I'll go in. We can just talk about whatever you think is fair, and we'll fix your bad teams with immediate effect. Oh, that's funny. I did not make that connection. Thanks for all the questions on the Patreon shows. I appreciate you. What were we talking about?
We had just finished the question. We're going to transition, but then you jumped in.
Patrick, transition me before I
transition you. I'm lost somewhere. I'm at. Sorry. I have not been drinking, but what's up, Team Tyler?
I don't drink, luckily.
Add ads. I'm holding Fields unless you get a solid offer. Yeah.
Man.
It depends on the solid offer. Like there's a.
Can I offer you Fields? I'll take whatever. I hate Fields. He sucks.
How far is he? Is he free falling for you?
Yes.
Like we talked about Deshaun Watson free falling to start the show, but
Deshaun Watson should be in jail. See, that's the problem. He should be in jail. So he was so focused on that he forgot how to play football. Seems like a big problem. So he doesn't seem so good to me. So I wouldn't want to have Deshaun Watson. He's at my quarterback a 14 in Dynasty. Fields is at 13. They're both outside the top 12. Both are a big problem.
If you listen to me in the offseason, you wouldn't have any Deshaun Watson at all.
Well, if we listened to you in the offseason, we'd also have a lot of Cam Akers. So
We
it cuts both ways. It cuts both ways,
It does cut both ways. Exactly.
I always say, and this is why I don't do it. I don't do it on Twitter. I don't take victory laps because I'm not prepared to also take laps of sorrow. I don't do that.
I do
I'm
both.
not prepared to apologize. I don't apologize.
I do both very well.
I just don't get any engagement
don't do
at
any
all,
of it.
so it's fine.
I don't do any of it. I just look forward. I look forward on how to help people in the future. I don't waste people's time with. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what my take was before. What matters is what my take is now. We got to focus on winning week 3. Focusing on who you should have drafted 2 weeks ago is not going to help anybody, right? We got to win week 3. In week 3, Kyren Williams is a borderline RB1. Deshaun Watson is outside my top 15 quarterbacks. Puka Nacua is wide receiver 13. These are not things that I think people were thinking, but here we are. Things have changed. Got to adjust.
99.9% of people were out on Puka Nacua at wide receiver 13 value 2 weeks ago.
99.9. Who was in at Puka Nacua at that value?
He has a mother.
You don't have any evidence of that. He could have been born in a lab. You don't have any evidence of that. This is very conspiracy theory from you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But here we are. Back to Chris's next question. Got Dak and Fields as my QBs with a stacked lineup. Should I play Dak or Love? All right, he's traded away Justin Fields, so I don't know why we mentioned Justin Fields the first part of the question. But so Dak or Love?
This week, Dak is playing Arizona, so we're going to play Dak. Love is playing New Orleans, so we're not going to play him.
Yep.
So Dak easily.
Back to the Akers questions that we already went over.
I've been impressed by Jordan Love. I will say
he's looked really good.
He has looked good, despite all his weapons looking bad. I don't want to say bad. They're fine. Someone asked me this week, and it was done on the Patreon show yesterday. I'll say it again. They asked if it might have been Chris here actually asked this question. He asked about buying Christian Watson. And I thought that was a great idea because he's out of sight, out of mind. Jordan Love has looked good, but the other weapons have looked bad. So it would make sense that when Christian Watson comes back, the other weapons have not impressed me. Christian Watson is just going to roll right back in to be the wide receiver 1 because the other weapons have been bad. But Jordan Love has looked good. So Jordan Love will be able to support Christian Watson. So I'm very confident that when Christian Watson comes back in, he's going to be really good. And I think he's out of sight, out of mind.
I think I agree with that, even as a Packers fan.
Well, why would you be against your own players?
Not really against my own players, just conglomeration of everyone of Packers Twitter and what's actually happening in the deep dive stats on Jordan Love, where his expected depth of throws and stuff is way on all opposite ends of the spectrum of where he should be. His throws are way downfield; they're way harder throws, but his completion percentage is way lower than average. But it's made up for because it's longer throws.
Yeah,
I'm hesitant right now to fully 100% buy in with Jordan Love. I don't know if 3 touchdowns a game is sustainable.
No,
those yardage numbers have to go up.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of growing mistakes. They had a 4th down sneak that they were trying to do, and people called it it was similar to the butt fumble, but it was like the butt stumble where he went to try and do the 4th down sneak.
Funny.
And he just stumbles into his guard because he said the wrong word.
I would really love it if my butt were the focus of national television. I would really love that. as vain as I am, I do those glute exercises. Let me tell you, those glute toning exercises.
Is it the one where you like push your leg back and like?
Yeah. I gotta keep it firm down there, bro.
It's never been a problem for me.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
Why that was so funny.
Tyler, thank you for coming on the show.
Lung.
Thank you for coming on the show because now we've jumped from 10 viewers on average.
Just shows that
20.
I still move the needle, you know?
Yes, you still move the needle. It is
I'm
your
well
show.
aware of it. Even when I'm talking about bullshit.
Oh, absolutely. Mike, I literally laughed at his name in my head.
You almost got tripped up there?
Yep.
Cal read it.
I mean,
once.
it'd be the truth. But
oh, really?
we have a 12 team,
That's
one
interesting.
quarterback.
Tell the people about that.
I'd rather not right now. But we're gonna start 8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if I can.
Gives Sanders and Deontay Johnson get a 24 first mid.
Mid is one way to describe it, but I don't know. This is silly. Deontay Johnson has been bad and then injured. Miles Sanders is splitting a lot of work. I put that on the show sheet. He's got much passing game work going
still
away.
Got good passing game work. That's been the highlight for Miles Sanders.
But he didn't, though. Where was the passing game work this week? I didn't see that. The passing game work went to Chuba Hubbard. So actually, the passing game work was not there. And on the ground, he was inefficient. Actually, no, he did get 5 targets. He just only turned them to 4 yards. That's why he was at the bottom of the list.
He got 5 targets.
That's
the usage is there. He has 11 targets on the season. The passing work has always been there. It's just last week he didn't make.
What happened to the yards? It didn't.
He just didn't make use of it. No, it's a horrific. Bryce Young's playing pretty poor, and it's a horrific offense.
I disagree with that. Bryce Young is not playing poorly. That's fake news.
He's playing fine.
No, it's actually not true. He's playing well. The problem is that he actually had. I read this on X today. He had one of the best percentages in throwing to open receivers. He's doing great at hitting receivers when they're open. The problem is that they're open at one of the lowest historical rates ever. So that if the receivers are never open, how is he supposed to succeed exactly? He does hit them when they're open, but they never are.
Yeah.
So how is he supposed to succeed? What could he do better? What could he do better? Be Patrick Mahomes? Maybe if he were Patrick Mahomes, maybe it would be good. But actually, as a rookie, I've been impressed with Bryce Young. I'm not down on Bryce Young. He looks better than I thought he would in this putrid offense. I mean, putrid set of weapons. Putrid. He exceeded my expectations. I think that, he looks better in games 1 and 2 as a passer than Justin Fields looks in year 3. Year 3, no progress has been made. Bryce Young in games 1 and 2 looks better to me. So I actually am impressed with him for real life that he will be a good quarterback. For fantasy, it's never going to happen with these weapons. He's not going to be usable at all this year, but I do like him. In Dynasty Superflex, he's holding his value for me. CJ Stroud has actually passed him because CJ Stroud has better weapons, than Bryce Young. So he's been able to do a little bit more. But I think if you traded the weapons, the results would be similar.
If I told you the weapons those two quarterbacks a year ago, if I said CJ Stroud's going to throw to Robert Woods and Nico Collins, and Bryce Young's going to throw to Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen's washed. Robert Woods is.
But I'm saying, like, a year ago, you would have said, "Look at these weapons."
I would have, but we're not at a year ago.
I know.
Nico Collins is a lot better than any of their wide receivers. I'd still rather have Dalton Schultz than Hayden Hurst between the two. And then Robert Woods is better than Adam Thielen. So they're better across the board.
Texans wide receivers have overperformed.
That doesn't even include Tank Dell.
Yep.
So the Texans might low key. Nico Collins and Tank Dell are both exceeding my expectations.
Mm-hmm. So we never
answered this question. I guess I would do this if I was in a rebuild and had no choice. And firsts are hard to come by. This is the kind of thing where if it's this or nothing, you're in a rebuild, and if it's this or nothing, I do this. It's not ideal, but if this is the only option, then I would do it. Does that? I think that answers the question to the best of the best. Of
I'd like a little bit
context.
more, but I want that first because
beggars can't be choosers. Sometimes you wait too long, and then it's too late, and then you can't do anything. You're stuck with the declining assets.
You've got a hurt asset and a running back.
I got to tell you, I think Deontay Johnson is finished for people trusting him anymore. I think he was on. I usually think that people give these players like 3 strikes, and I think he is now kind of struck out. So there's just been too many problems. So I think that people are never going to trust Deontay Johnson anymore.
So you asked about going after Christian Watson earlier. 10-team, 1 quarterback, start 8. Puka, Christian Watson, Roschon, or Devontae Adams and James Cook?
Watson.
Yeah, I want the Watson and Puka side.
Watson.
I would agree. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I really do like James Cook, though. He's somebody that's been really, really good. I mean, he's gotten 60+% of the opportunities for the Bills so far. He's been really good when it comes to snap share. He's really effective with the ball in his hands, gotten really nice pass catching work. I mean, he's everything we've dreamt of that he could be, because we never thought he could be a 3-down workhorse running back. That's just not his.
Or that he was getting the goal line work.
Or he was getting goal line work. He's not getting goal line work. He's not getting red zone work because that's not his game. And he might not score a ton of touchdowns this year. But even without tons of touchdowns, he's been good for fantasy.
He's getting the touches.
He's getting the touches, and especially as a pass catcher, which I was actually worried about because of Josh Allen, his running capabilities. But he's getting it.
I mean, he got 17 carries and 4 receptions. He didn't score, so it wasn't the monster game you wanted, but he had 165 yards.
When you look at, I think of Bob Ross as he's painting your lineup, and you're putting James Cook in your flex, and he magically this 1 week scores a touchdown on a 12-yard rush. And it's just a happy little accident. Exactly. 6 bonus points for you that you weren't expecting to get. You're expecting that 12-yard rush, and that was built into what you thought was going to happen when you put him in your flex. But that extra 6 points. I don't need James Cook to score any touchdowns. He's going to get enough work to be a valuable flex player.
All the upside is on the other side anyway. Devontae Adams, I like Devontae Adams, but
concussed.
He's only going to decline in value.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and this is in redraft.
Does that change my mind? That
changes my mind.
It's just so tough to give up Puka Nacua, but the value in redraft is probably with Adams. It's closer. Yeah.
Yeah. DK and Godwin for AJ Brown.
Godwin for AJ.
I would lean AJ Brown because between Godwin, I think we're done with Godwin being like a mega high value asset. And between AJ Brown and DK Metcalf, I think AJ Brown is going to hold his value a little bit better. I actually think now's a good time to buy AJ Brown. AJ Brown is going to get the squeaky wheel treatment. They just owe him so much money. He's going to get the squeaky wheel treatment next week. So,
he's got to eat against Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
he's going to have.
Try. I mean, also he almost scored a touchdown in that game 2 different times. And if Rashad fucking Penny hadn't committed a holding penalty, whatever. I'll be mad at Rashad Penny later. I'd lean to AJ Brown.
All right. Jerome Ford or Kyren Williams worth a first?
No.
Neither are worth a first.
No, neither are worth a first. I don't really, I don't believe in the talent of either player long term. So I think these are players that'll never be worth, like Dameon Pierce, I think is better than these two. There's more draft capital than either one. I think he's a better player and was still never worth a first, really. I don't think these two are ever going to be worth that because at the end of the day, Kyren Williams had the most negative rushing yards over expectation in week 2. As in, he was the worst running back in the league. So he was not good. Jerome Ford, I think, is someone who can play a complementary role. And that's what they were looking for him to do. I think that he'll be the starter. I do think they're going to add someone, probably Kareem Hunt. And I think Ford will be the starter and Hunt will mix in. You know, Ford will kind of play the it'll be interesting. Ford will play the Kareem Hunt role as the starter, and Kareem Hunt will play the other role, the Nick Chubb role as the backup. As weird as that is, but I'm pretty, because Ford's even more that kind of, change of pace.
Yeah.
But neither are worth the first. Between the two, I'd rather Kyren. I think Kyren is going to give you a full season. I think you're going to get a full season, just one, but I think you're going to get a full season of this kind of workload because I don't see how it's going away. I don't see what's going to change. I don't see the Rams adding Kareem Hunt or Leonard Fournette. So Kyren, I think I have as worth more. And I think there's more of a chance that Kyren Williams is the Rams 2024 starter than that Jerome Ford is the Browns 2024 starter. I think that's essentially almost not really possible.
Okay. Yeah. For this week, Zay Flowers, Dotson, or London. Pick one for this week.
I really don't want to start any of these, but I'll go with Zay Flowers. Dotson is a no-go.
Yeah.
Dotson is a total no-go. And London against Detroit, the matchup is very good. Detroit's going to score. We're going to put Atlanta behind, forcing them to throw. So I do like that. I have London higher than I had him last week, but I don't have him that high. I'll go with Flowers. Even though Flowers wasn't that good this past week, I still think Flowers has the most expectation.
Chris says he went 3 for 3 with the 3-team subscription I got. Wishing you well mentally and physically. Developing some ideas to try and help your channel, so stay tuned. Wishing Team Tyler the best. Thank you. That made our night. At least my night.
Yeah. I think the thing I need the most on the channel is a couple of things. One, I'm looking for, and this is an open casting call. I'm looking for someone who likes doing YouTube videos, but has, let's say, minimal following. Someone who's high on talent, but low on notoriety. Who would be interested in publishing YouTube videos on my channel. Who'd be interested in that. Look, the channel loses money. I can't afford to pay you. Because I don't know where that money would come from. I don't need it. I'll do the videos myself. They won't be very good production value-wise on the editing. I'll keep doing them myself. I'll deliver them. People like it. People like hearing from them. No big deal if that's what it needs to be. But if there's someone who really likes doing like editing and like that kind of stuff, I don't expect you to edit. I don't expect someone to edit my videos for free. That's asking too much. But if someone wants to do their own, I'm open to it. Casting call. And then I'm also looking for another co-host for this show. I'll probably do an open casting call for that. Preferably someone who is relatively calm and knows their shit. I'll say
that rules me out.
relatively common. Know your shit.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it, am I right?
I mean, look, I did that for years. I mean, I used to say, like, when I started doing content, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm just kind of a talking head. I stopped saying that because at some point I feel like I learned what I was talking about. But I had the following first before I really feel like I was good at this. Now I think I am. Now I do think I'm one of the best, especially it starts at Dynasty strategy too. But, when I started, I just kind of did it on a whim. Like, I didn't have any experience when I got started.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm the only one who was like that. A lot of people just start doing content on a whim and then they learn how to they get better over time. But, nowadays I had a lot of time during the pandemic to kind of hone my skills. Like the last few years, I felt pretty confident, especially this year. This year, I feel like confident for sure in like what I'm doing in terms of like accuracy wise.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
All right. James asks, how do you see Jahmyr Gibbs' season playing out from this point forward? Adding in some context for the viewers, David Montgomery is likely missing a couple weeks. Do you see him pushing closer to an RB1 at any point, or do you think that probably won't come until next year?
No, he's a superstar. A rookie doesn't get a rookie running back doesn't get 9 targets. He's a superstar. He's going to be a superstar for fantasy football. He has looked better than David Montgomery in every sense touching the football when he's on the field, and especially in his first game. Every touch was unbelievable. He's laying out people. He's breaking tackles. He looks faster than anybody on the field. He is an elite superstar. He's going to be a star in this.
People focus on the 7 for 17 as being bad, and they ignore the 7 catches for 39 on 9 targets, which is good.
Yeah.
See, they ignore the part that matters and focus on the part that's not that as important. So, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, this week I have him in PPR, I have him at RB7.
Love it.
One QB, start 8, redraft.
They play Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Ask this question on the Patreon.
Yeah, this we don't do questions.
Yes, I'm not reading that. You can unless you pay by sending a super chat or wherever they're called on
chat
YouTube.
I'll answer it, but
we'll talk about it. I'm not reading that.
No, I'm not reading that.
Do I trade away CMC, Deontay Johnson, and Pat Freiermuth for Cooper Kupp, Josh Jacobs, and George Kittle?
What is this? It says redraft. What is this?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to know what this is.
Yeah.
In redraft, generally, just in redraft, if you have CMC and you're asking, are you going to trade him away? The answer is usually no.
Yeah.
This is not bad.
Fair.
This is not a bad offer, but Kittle's not really much of an upgrade over Freiermuth. So it's
not.
Is Kupp and Jacobs in redraft enough for CMC with Deontay not being totally worthless if you can put him in an IR spot? No. Honestly, I'd rather have CMC in redraft. So Kupp might come back at some point. So no. The answer to this question is no. No matter what the format is, I think it's the CMC side, no matter what.
I like that, yeah.
Oh, this is a good one.
Do you guys think JMO still has good dynasty value, or would you move him because the targets won't be there?
I've seen trades where it's Jameson Williams for Puka Nacua straight up. How do we feel about that?
Puka Nacua. That's a stupid question.
That was the question. That was the question mid, like at halftime of the game on Sunday.
No, that's a stupid question.
Yeah, I would take Puka as well.
I see these people, they're what I call, they have anchors around their ankles. They're anchored. They have take lock. They don't use their brains. They just say, oh, I liked Jameson Williams coming into the NFL. Oh, if I admit that he's bad, I'm going to be wrong? Oh, no. I could be wrong about so I can't do that. I can't ever be wrong. So I just have to go down with the ship. These people who don't have brains, who a lot of them, big Twitter followings, big Twitter followings, the brain lacking, but Twitter following is very large. No. Jameson Williams is a bust. He's a bust. Plain and simple. When was the last player who had this type of disruption to their early career and then succeeded? Can you think of one? Even one example in the last 5 years? I mean, one example. No, because there is no example. There is no example. They don't exist because players that are good usually get on the field immediately. They usually prove their worth immediately. Usually. Sometimes it takes a little while, but this has been more than a little while. He was on the field last year and didn't do anything. And everyone says, well, Josh Reynolds is succeeding. So Jameson Williams, it's a great role for him to step into when he comes back. What if Josh Reynolds just remains the starter and Jameson Williams doesn't step into that role? That would be bad, right? Then Jameson Williams wouldn't get the targets like the thrill is saying. So ignore the people who are stuck with those anchors that are going to end them at the bottom of the ocean in the wreck of the Titanic, like the people in the submarine. Submersible, sorry. And just move on. Move on. I saw someone saying trading Jameson Williams for a 2025 first was a bad thing. A bad thing? You can start over with another first for someone in a year and a half who's only failed. Who was picked in the mid-first originally? Why wouldn't you want to just start over when you have a year and a half of failure? I don't understand. I don't get it. So, yeah, I don't get it. He's a total sell. He's always been a sell. And every week that passes is going to make him a good time to sell. And the best time is going to be the week before he comes back. Enough said, right?
I was literally thinking earlier
more,
today.
Tyler. I couldn't agree more, Tyler.
I wonder how his hamstring's doing.
Well, we don't
the one
know.
that he injured in the preseason and disappeared from training camp because he was hurt.
Well, we don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know how he's doing,
issue.
but he can't rehab in the facility. You know that. He's not
For another
rehabbing
4
in the
weeks
facility right now.
3 weeks. Sorry, he's allowed back like the week before, but he can't.
Oh, that's true.
Whatever that suspension, whatever the return to work.
You're allowed back the week before you can be activated. That's true.
I wonder if he's going to complain to the union about the work from office requirements and having to move from work from home.
Oh my god.
That he's been doing for the last 2 months.
Well, I don't know how much work he's been doing. So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We will see.
If you want a question like this, come find me on Run Boys.
This is not a bad question.
I haven't even looked at matchups for this week.
It's not a bad question. I pulled up
I love the question.
I pulled up the week 3 schedule. Here's a for sure win. That's the 49ers on Thursday night against the Giants. There's one. That one I think is going to be a big problem for the Giants. I don't think the Giants.
Oh yeah, no, they're not winning that game.
That one.
Hey, Saquon Barkley could play.
He's not going to.
That is ridiculous. He's not going to play. That's ridiculous. On a short week, you're going to play through a sprained ankle. That's not going to happen.
It was
the Giants are not that stupid.
It was the
lowest
lowest
win this
of
game
ankle
anyway.
sprains. It was not the Snoop Dogg of ankle sprains.
It's ridiculous. We know better than this. An upset? Do the Rams beating the Bengals count as an upset? I think even if Joe Burrow plays, the Rams might win. I don't know if that counts.
Would the Texans beating the Jaguars?
That would. Yeah, that's that.
I'm thinking. I like the Texans beating the Jaguars this week.
I think that's plausible. I think it's plausible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, who did the Chargers?
Close games. I will say this slate of running backs is so bad. I mean, I have Kyren Williams at RB12. Jerome Ford at RB13 against Tennessee, the same matchup that didn't work out for Joshua Kelley last week. But it's just so bad.
But Joshua Kelley's not good at football, and we know that.
And we know that Jerome Ford is good at football? I mean, he was better last week than Joshua Kelley ever was, but we don't know that Jerome Ford is good at football. He had
we have much less tape on Jerome Ford being bad at football.
I know, and that's very scary. Well, we have much less tape on him being good. We don't have any tape on him being good. We have one run, and that's it.
True.
So it's very scary to start. I mean, I agree. It is very scary to start him against Tennessee, but I also say that you have no choice because the running back position has been decimated. I mean, other guys I have up there, I mean, you could start Miles Sanders. We just talked about him. I mean, a disaster could happen. You could always start Najee Harris. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not interested in starting Trent Richardson this week. It doesn't interest me. And you know what I will say? Najee Harris actually looks worse than Trent Richardson. Trent Richardson at least looked good for a few games. Najee Harris looks like one of the worst running backs in the NFL. So bad.
It's terrible.
Terrible. He's a sell low for me in Dynasty. I've dropped him. I have him at somehow he's still running back 17, but don't be fooled by that. He's 68th overall in my one QB rankings. In Superflex, he's at 91. So don't be fooled by running back 17. That's telling you that I don't like running backs in Dynasty right now. They're all bad. It is a brutal position in Dynasty right now. Brutal. I mean, how many running backs in Dynasty do you feel comfortable with? 2, 3, maybe?
I asked
Jonathan Taylor's gaining value every day because he's not hurt. And he's not playing bad. Everyone else, like he's becoming more and more valuable every day because everyone else is so bad that when he comes back, he's going to be worth like he was before. He's been a low-key buy for me. He's kind of off the radar because people are not talking about him because he's not scoring points. He's going to come back week 5. He's going to come back. He's going to come back and he's going to play for the Colts. I think he's learned his lesson. That's not really the right way to say it, but I think he learned he has no choice. He's stuck.
Yeah, he's stuck.
So the Colts played hardball and put him on the pup. So he's going to come back and play. He has no choice, which sucks for him. But for fantasy, I mean, it's the reality. That's what's going to happen.
Are we at the point where right now with the running back landscape, there's Bijan's worth 2 firsts, but otherwise
Bijan's worth 3 firsts.
Is he still 3 firsts?
Oh, Bijan has exceeded my expectations. We have to look at the play in the last game. I mean, we don't see this kind of workload. There are 2 running backs who are averaging his kind of scoring. I mean, one of them is Christian McCaffrey, and the other one is him. I mean, he's second in scoring as a rookie in the first 2 games, despite splitting work with someone else in a PPR league. I mean, you're talking about someone who's 21. I mean, you can't replace that. You can't replace that with someone else. There is no one else there. And the thing is, there's not going to be someone else. Next year's running back class, I can tell you now, there is no Bijan Robinson in next year's class. There's no Jahmyr Gibbs in next year's class. There is nothing like that.
I heard someone going through a preemptive rookie draft for 2024. No running backs went in round 1.
That
will likely change. It will change.
That's going to change because you're going to get a Josh Jacobs, someone who emerges late. You're going to get that. It's going to happen. You're going to probably still have a running back in the end of round 1. You almost always do every year.
Someone's going to force it too.
Yeah. Very worst as a top 40 pick, 35 to 40-ish in the second round. So you're going to have someone in the first round, but you're not going to have a Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs. Those kind of players, they're coming. They're not there. They don't break out this late. It's already too late for such a player to exist. They're not going to exist. So you're not going to get a top 5 dynasty running back in next year's rookie class. That player is not going to exist. So someone like Bijan Robinson just has so much value because he's irreplaceable. RB2 and 3. Just look at the difference between RB2 and 3 and Bijan Robinson. I mean, what is the difference between Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson? Bijan Robinson can do everything that Jahmyr Gibbs can do. Everything. Passing game, everything. And also is a workhorse on the ground. So, and that's the difference between 1 and 2. What about the difference between 1 and 10? Or 1 and 17, Najee Harris? Like, 17. I mean, what about 20, 30? I mean, you start 2 running backs. That means 24 running backs are started every week. That's not to mention bye weeks. There are going to be injuries. There are backups. There are so many other things. There's no replacing Bijan Robinson. So he's worth every penny.
Yeah.
Other than that, the other running backs, I don't know if I want to pay up for them. I don't know if I want Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe. But Breece Hall at his price?
Are you
McCaffrey,
paying,
definitely not.
So going beyond Bijan there, are you paying 2 random 24 firsts for Jahmyr Gibbs right now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for Jahmyr Gibbs, I would.
Absolutely.
Jonathan Taylor?
No, I don't think so. I think we've already lost too many of the productive years to do that.
I'm just trying to get a picture of, all right, if you find a top tier running back, you're not having to pay what the price was for a top tier running back a year ago, 2 years ago.
In a super flex dynasty, Bijan Robinson is worth 3 firsts because he's a first round startup pick. Jahmyr Gibbs is worth about 2, maybe a teeny bit more. Breece Hall is worth a teeny bit less than 2. And nobody else is worth close to 2.
If one of the picks for Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 3 guaranteed.
Well, that's more interesting.
I think that's where things are.
Now we're getting to a point where it can be a little more guaranteed. I would consider it.
It was top 3 guaranteed in a super flex. That's interesting because you get one of the big 3 of Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, and Brock Bowers.
I think that's the real big question is if your team's not ready for it and you're just holding on to Jahmyr Gibbs, you're hoping that asset doesn't get hurt.
Because there is a realistic chance, even if Jahmyr Gibbs has a fantastic season, he's the RB2 in Dynasty, there is a solid chance that all 3 of those top tier players, the ones I just listed, Caleb Williams, Brock Bowers, DeMarcus Harrison Jr., are more valuable when they come out of college and get drafted.
It's not a chance. As in, Caleb Williams will be more valuable. It's not a chance. There's
a
no
good
doubt.
chance. Yeah.
Caleb Williams will be more valuable.
Caleb Williams,
Marvin
definitely.
Harrison Jr. will be more valuable.
He will be.
He will be.
Yes.
It's Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, if he were available right now, would probably already
wide
be
receiver 3.
I'd probably have him wide receiver 6. But that's still.
I think I'd put him at wide receiver 4. I think I still have Lamb, but otherwise
I'd have him at 6. Basically, Jefferson Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, and Chris Olave. I have essentially no complaints. So I'd have him at 6, below the 5 where I really have no complaints.
Just ahead of Puka.
That's still above
right?
Bruce. That's still above Jahmyr Gibbs.
Just ahead of Puka. That's right.
Puka. Yes.
There was light behind me, so no one could see me wink. But
Brock Bowers, I think, is going to be a value in drafts. I think people are.
I was just gonna say, Pitts has soured enough people that, and Kincaid.
Like Brock Bowers is going to be my tight end 1 coming in, and I think that's going to be a hot take, but it's not going to be for me.
People will still have Travis Kelce as their tight end 1, so it doesn't really matter.
Past that point.
I don't care about those people.
And then the Marvin Harrison Jr. I love it. Caleb Williams. I mean, man, Caleb Williams, I think, would come in as the quarterback right now. Probably quarterback. He'd either be 6, 7, or 8. I mean, he'd be behind Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Burrow, and Herbert. And, he's in the same tier as Trevor Lawrence and Lamar Jackson. He'd be a first-round startup pick.
He'd probably be behind Lawrence and Jackson for me. He'd probably
Jackson scares me. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing the magical improvement.
I don't see the touchdowns.
The magical improvement didn't happen.
Those touchdowns need to be there.
Essentially, I'm starting to realize that the 2019 Lamar Jackson was the fluke. That's the aberration. That is the fluke. That was the fluky season. That was the outlier. And the Lamar Jackson we get the rest of the time is the reality. So that's not worth as much. Because it's going to decay. It's going to decay. It's going to end. Like, it's not going to last another 7 years. So you're starting to get to the point of when is the running going to decline?
It already has.
It already has. That's true. But, I mean, Michael Vick was still put up that rushing season at, I think it was, what? How old was he?
It was after his jail time.
Yeah, but he was like past 30.
But I think his career longevity was saved by going to jail.
And that was also a massive outlier season that he never duplicated after.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I don't want to say I don't like Lamar Jackson, but I would, if Caleb Williams comes in number 1 overall, I probably would lean toward what I hadn't seen over what I have.
I traded away Lamar Jackson 30 minutes before kickoff on Sunday, and I'm glad I did. I think it's
Lamar Jackson, I think Lamar Jackson is closer to the tier of like Tua and Anthony Richardson. Like I think Lamar Jackson is currently closer in value to Tua than he is to like Hurts.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Lamar reminds me of like
Lamar Jackson.
When you're thinking about a relationship and you're just laying in bed, you're like, I really like this person. I really like this person. And you're like, ping, red flag. Wait, have I been ignoring that for a while? And for me, it's that touchdowns. It's that really, really good season, that MVP season. And we're like, what was missing? What was missing? And I'm just aware. I feel like I'm aware of it. I'm like, still pretty great. Still going to be really good to have, but he's not going to be anywhere near top tier on a single week.
It doesn't seem like it. I think this was his last chance, and I'm not seeing it happening.
I'm still excited for Zay Flowers, though.
I'm very excited.
I still think he can support Zay Flowers, and he can continue to support Mark Andrews, but I don't know if he's going to support a top 5.
I'm just not seeing the ascension. The ascension is the step forward is not happening.
The game breakingness that you want from him, you're not going to get.
I'm just not seeing.
Yeah. All right. After all that, trade Javonte for Hunter Henry and redraft?
I don't think I can.
No.
I think I'd rather keep Javonte. Running backs are so in demand. And while Hunter Henry has been good, I think that this week was already, if I'm not mistaken, a slight step back for Hunter Henry. He did score the touchdown, but his share of the targets, he had 7 out of 42, which is still a good share. But 42 is a lot. And I don't think we can give 42 passing attempts to the Patriots on a regular basis.
No.
So 7 out of 42, he did perform on what he got, but I'm a little bit worried that if the touchdowns don't come, and they're not going to every week, he was the only receiver who scored one in this past game. He scored a touchdown in both games, but he's 108 receiving yards and 13 targets. He's doing well, but we're not talking about someone who has massive volume. The offense is relatively poor. So if the touchdowns go away, and they're going to, he's someone who I don't think is going to hold up throughout the season. I think he'll be a borderline tight end 1, but you already saw this game that Devontae Parker waltzed right back in, and he was their number 1 target in their offense, which is genuinely terrifying. But he was their wide receiver 1. Then Kendrick Bourne, and then Hunter Henry, and then Juju Smith-Schuster. Made a nice catch. On the sideline. But he looks so cooked.
Oh, no, he is.
Cooked.
He's cooked.
But the answer to this question is no. You have to hang on to Javonte. It's easier to replace the tight end than it is the running back.
You got it.
Especially a tight end at that level.
Am I crazy for wanting to drop Antonio Gibson this early?
No.
For the likes of Jerome Ford, Matt Breida, and
No. This is Brian Robinson.
Antonio Gibson's a drop. I actually think Antonio Gibson is about to lose his job. I think that Antonio Gibson is going to be benched for the next game. And I think Chris Rodriguez is going to be the backup. They are displeased with Antonio Gibson. They're displeased with his performance. I mean, there were more problems in this last game. You know, he didn't really do anything on the ground. There was a problem with his play. He was benched again. Benched in the first game for a fumble. This game, benched once again. You can drop Antonio Gibson. Of these 3, Jerome Ford is by far the best.
yes.
Now, Kendre Miller. Interesting. Jamal Williams is going to be out for a long time. So, Kendre Miller is now... I think Jamal Williams is going to go on IR. The hamstring injury sounds very severe.
Yeah,
Seems it's going to take a while. I think he's going to go on IR. I think he's going to miss 4 games. Alvin Kamara comes back in week 4. Kendre Miller, I do think is going to be ready to play this week 3, his first game. Now, it's going to be tough to start him, but I do think that's a player. I'd rather have Kendre Miller than Antonio Gibson.
Easily.
As for Matt Breida, I'm just kind of not interested in Matt Breida. I'm not going to play him this week. Now, if you're in one of those leagues where you can put someone on your bench and then drop them, I'm okay adding Matt Breida, seeing how Thursday goes. And then if somehow Thursday is like 20 for 100, then I keep him. If it's bad, then I drop him and pick up someone who plays on Sunday. I cannot start Matt Breida under any circumstances against the 49ers. That is a absolute no-go. I have him at running back 37. So I'm only starting him if somehow running back 37 is my RB2. I'm not putting him in a flex over like wide receiver 50 or higher. So he's a total no-go. But I don't mind stashing him, but he'd be my third choice here. I just think that Eric Gray is going to get a little bit involved. I just don't think Matt Breida can hold up for any significant amount of carries. And Saquon Barkley, I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to go on the IR. If I had to predict, I would say Saquon Barkley misses 2 games and returns for the next one against the Dolphins in week 5. That would be my prediction. Misses 2 games. So Matt Breida, I think I'll pass on Matt Breida. There are other, unless you're going to unless you can afford to hold him on your bench and then drop him if he doesn't do well. But I think I'm going to get outbid on Matt Breida. I'm willing to add him for $0 or $1 fab dollars. My guess is that's not going to be enough to get him, so I don't think I'll be adding him anywhere. Other players have priority. Kendre Miller especially.
Absolutely.
I know you like that, Hutch. He's still on my Scott Fishbowl roster.
Yeah.
Which, I blamed you for that. It was your fault. You told me to draft him. But, I wanted to draft Tank Bigsby, but that hasn't exactly gone well either. So
no, it hasn't.
The one player that actually did well was Zach Moss. I never thought I'd be thankful for Zach Moss, but he carried me. He was the difference. He carried me to a big victory this week. Zach Moss, one of my least favorite players in the NFL. He is probably like one of my least favorite players.
Outside like Joshua Fumble.
Yeah. So I got almost 50 points from Jake Moody and Zach Moss.
Holla.
Neither of whom I drafted.
Well, Kevin wants to remind you, Tyler, that you are awesome. And he loves the Patreon. And then also Hutch, you are awesome as well. I'm just spreading out the compliment, so it's more. He's been great. I had a lot of fun before you showed up, Tyler. Just talking with Hutch. I'm having fun now too, but we had a good time.
We did.
We have a 12-man PPR league. QB. I'm not reading that. Do I trade? No.
Henry and that's too confusing.
Yeah. If you have to tell us your entire roster, it's not happening without getting paid.
Let's simplify the question. Simplify the questions.
What do you think of the prospects for Alvin Kamara and his return?
Pretty good now.
Yeah.
Yeah. With
can't stay healthy, and Jamal Williams is nowhere to be found. Tony Jones looked good.
Were you afraid of Tony Jones last year?
No.
I forgot he existed.
Alvin Kamara will be an RB1 in week 4 because there's just no other option.
And just like that, Christian Kirk is back.
Zay Jones got hurt, but Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley is still the clear one from the usage. Zay Jones missed a lot of time.
Yeah, he missed a little chunk of time in there. That could have helped with Kirk, but
someone who was
I think Kirk's talent is still there.
As someone who was out on Ridley, though, my gut to try and victory lap. Oh, you guys prematurely victory lapped. I was like, he only had 2 catches. Ridley had 8 targets in that game. The target share was there.
8 targets.
Trevor Lawrence played poorly.
And that was the big takeaway from that is
It was
That is not going to occur this week.
There were 3. It was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 touchdowns. They were like 1 foot in the end zone. They didn't get the second foot down. It was so weird. It was such a weird game, man. When I watched the score to that game, I was like, because I didn't watch the game live, but I saw the score like repeatedly throughout the day. I was like, what is going on? This is supposed to be 2 of the most prolific offenses in the NFL, and then you have this. It just didn't make any sense.
I firmly believe.
And it was such. I'm like kind of throwing the game away a little bit.
This is a science joke, but if the field was made of cement, as cement expands during the summer and under the high heat, the 120-degree on the field temperatures in Jacksonville, the field should have expanded enough so that their 2 feet could have gotten down for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I love that.
But instead, we play on grass, and grass doesn't expand the same way concrete does.
You want to hear something insane?
What?
After this week, I re-ranked my Dynasty ranks, which are on the Patreon, patreon.com/fantasyadvice. Please sign up. But Christian Kirk actually comes in 1 spot above Najee Harris. Christian Kirk is wide receiver 36. Najee Harris is running back 17. Just to give you an idea of who's being valued more between running backs and wide receivers.
That is wild.
We touched on this earlier tonight. Walker 34 touches to Sharps 9. Yep.
Yes. Walker looks bad, but he's maintaining the lead role. So how bad must Charbonnet be? It's very scary because Walker hasn't actually looked good at all.
Yeah, Walker. Yeah,
Walker was not good in this game. He didn't impress me.
I like the troll. I'm honestly feeling fine. Yep. Charbonnet, I think Charbonnet's gonna get more and more involved. Walker hasn't looked great. Sorry, he just hasn't looked great.
Looks better than Najee though.
Anyone looks better than Najee. I'd look better than Najee.
Speaking of Najee, do you think Warren will overtake him? Does it actually matter because the Steelers' offense isn't good?
It's not good.
I don't think so. But we're getting into a territory of now this is a full-blown committee, and now you can't. Like, I finally, after week 2, I usually say 1 week, 2 weeks is start to make changes, and 3 weeks is crisis time. We've now made changes. Changes have been made. Like, Najee Harris has been moved in the start-sit rankings. He's sitting at running back 27.
Oof.
So changes have been made. Now after 2 weeks, I usually look at, after 1 week, I still focus on my original take. It's still a majority of my ranking for most players. And like, I'd say it's like 66, 2/3 original take, 1/3 week 1. Now it's the other way around. Now we're on 2/3 what's actually happened, and 1/3 still like a talent evaluation. For example, Jamar Chase is still ranked highly, even though he hasn't done much. He's still ranked highly. We're not giving up on Jamar Chase.
No.
But in this case, I got to tell you, Najee Harris looks so bad that I think this is going to be a little bit like last year's Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, except the offense is terrible. So instead of having that be like running back 20 and running back 15, it's going to be running back 30 and running back 35. It's going to be a total no-go.
All right.
They're both must rosters, though, because if one goes away, the other will get everything. That's how the Steelers work. They have players they trust and players they don't. They're not a mandatory committee team. They're an earn your touches team. So if one gets hurt, the other will get everything, like 90% or more, because they don't trust anyone else. So you're never going to be able to drop either one. You're going to have to hang on to both of them for the whole year. And it's going to be hard to start either of them. Mm-hmm. But for now, I lean Najee Harris as the one to start, but I would prefer not to start either one. And considering it's against Vegas and I still don't want to start either one, that's a very bad sign. That means they're both, it's weird. They're both going to be unstartable all year, but they're also both must holds. Very strange, but that's what it is now.
So this question comes from the concern that Craig Reynolds got quite a bit of the work once Montgomery went down.
Yeah, I have no concern.
No.
I have no concern because the injury happened in the middle of the game, so there was not a plan for Jahmyr Gibbs to take all of these extra touches. Now they know that they're not going to have David Montgomery for the next game, so they're going to be able to do a new plan. No, I'm not expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to have 20 carries. I'm expecting him to maybe have 13 and the same receiving role, 13 instead of 7. And I do think the other running backs will get involved. I don't think you're going to be able to start either of them because I think both Craig Reynolds and Zonovan Knight will play as backups because I don't think either one is that much better than the other. So I think they'll both play as backups, but Jahmyr Gibbs will be the one, and then the other two will share the other work.
Jahmyr Gibbs also isn't a power back. He's not going to run between the guards. He's not that guy.
No, he's a little bit like
the Lions would be stupid to run him like that.
He's a little bit like kind of like what we're seeing the usage from James Cook, except that Jahmyr Gibbs is elite in terms of his, like, first of all, receiving, and then secondly, kind of breakaway and also tackle breaking compared to James Cook.
Mm-hmm.
Traded Pollard for Gibbs straight up in Dynasty. Good job.
Elite.
We love that.
Oh, amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah, we love that.
Perfect.
JT for a 24 late first and Elijah Moore.
I think I'd keep JT. Elijah Moore didn't impress me.
He hasn't looked good.
I mean, Amari Cooper was walking on one leg, and he looked twice or 5 times, or a large number of times, the player that Elijah Moore was. Elijah Moore just looked okay.
He's looked okay. Yeah.
I mean, we had 9 targets, of which he did nothing. I think that Amari Cooper is the Browns 1. Elijah Moore is the 2 for now, but I think he's vulnerable. I think that, David Njoku, he was 4 for 48 on 4 targets, a lot more efficient. I think that they could look to kind of get David Njoku a teensy bit more involved and kind of have a wide receiver a little bit more by committee. I think Cedric Tillman has got to get involved. They spent a day 2 pick on him.
Yeah, they seriously try to get
ramped up.
Touches.
And I think, he'll get a chance. But I just think Elijah Moore, he's just okay. Like, he's fine. You can run your offense with him as a wide receiver too. But if he's the true second weapon, the offense is a little weak. Deshaun Watson has been kind of weak. So Elijah Moore doesn't do much for me. He's worth maybe like a 24 mid to late second would be fair. And I think JT over 24 late first and late second, I think given the 24 class, I'm not sure those picks will recoup the value of JT. So I'll take JT.
All right. Quick
24
one more.
first easily. We know this with Pierce.
It's
and Dameon Pierce.
It's a first.
Lamar's just rusty.
I feel bad for Dameon Pierce. He's playing well, but he literally has no chance.
I listened to Fantasy Football today.
So did I.
Yeah, listen to Fantasy Football today. Did you hear that stat, Tyler?
Which one? The one about how he was blown up in the backfield on almost every play?
Yeah, he was blown in the backfield on so many plays last week that Dameon Pierce last week had 31 rushing yards. He had 38 rushing yards after contact.
Yeah. So he had negative yard. Yeah, that's terrible. So
that's where we were at. I mean, 4 of the 5 offensive linemen weren't starting for the Texans. Like, they were just.
He's also not getting the workhorse role that he was last year.
He isn't. No, he's not getting the pass catching work that he was last year. Last year, he was actually on pace for 40.
No, really? In Dynasty at this point, I count 13 running backs that I have significant value on. Bijan, Gibbs, Hall, McCaffrey, JT, Etienne, Pollard, Jacobs, Walker, Barkley, Eckler, Stevenson, and James Cook, and that's it. Just 13. Everyone else is not worth much.
Yeah.
Should I trade Ramondre and DK?
Oh, and last thing about that, it's the guys like at 14, 15, 16, 17 that I think are the most overvalued. Javonte, Rashad White, Derrick Henry, who is Derrick Henry looks like he's in decline. Just warning. Like, this is like 3 alarm bells are going off for me on Derrick Henry because the ceiling, the floor drops, and it drops very quick, and it's too late. Once it happens, it's too late. Derrick Henry is like 3 alarm fire. And then also Najee Harris, Dameon Pierce, Joe Mixon. These are other players that I just like not interested in at their cost.
Should I trade Ramondre and DK for Chase and Tyler Allgeier? Yes.
Yeah.
Get
I
Chase.
make that deal. Yep.
Yeah, Chase for sure.
Doesn't matter.
It would be Chase if Allgeier were on the other side.
Yep. Before I even read Tyler Allgeier, it was going to be Chase. Gavin wants us to say Lamar has played better than Burrow. Okay.
Yeah, Burrow's been hurt. Burrow is a strong buy for me. He has the contract.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been very good. It's calf injury. Burrow's not someone who we were not relying on Burrow to have massive rushing production. It was never coming. So if people are giving you a buy window on Joe Burrow in Dynasty, who has a massive contract, great weapons, I would take it. I think, I'll tell you, I think in 4 years, Joe Burrow is still going to be a high-end fantasy quarterback, and Lamar Jackson will not. I think that's my take on the situation.
Sure. All right, guys. I unfortunately have to hop, but thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I'll see y'all next week, next Tuesday.
Peace.
Later.
Peace. Later, guys.
I just want to say how much I appreciate Hutch for filling in for me when I was not having a great day. But yeah, let's move on.
All right. I am so sorry. There we go. I have Demario Douglas as a stash, but I'm wondering if I should keep him. How do you guys feel about him?
Oh, you should definitely keep him in a dynasty.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned that he got in the doghouse, but he's of the speculative receivers in New England. Him, Butte, and Thornton. Douglas is the one that actually has potential. The other two, not really.
And I think the bigger question here is that's missing is the context of what would you be getting for him, or what would you be replacing him with if you're getting rid of that stash?
Yeah, he's at a level of in any regular dynasty league, he's a must roster.
This is Gavin being Gavin. Is Burrow injury prone? He's already played a lesser percentage of his games than Lamar in his career. Yes, Burrow tore his ACL early on in his rookie year and missed time. Congratulations.
I wouldn't call Joe Burrow injury prone, but I wouldn't. My issue with Lamar is not his injuries. My issue with Lamar is that he's not been super effective when he's played. Not a big Lamar fan.
Yeah. I was offered AJ Brown for Garrett Wilson and Zay Flowers. Full PPR. Should I accept?
Absolutely not. I'd rather have Wilson and Flowers easily.
Are you trading away Deshaun Watson for Gibbs or Hall in a Superflex league?
Oh, man. It's so tough to do that. It's so tough to do that and give up that kind of quarterback who you probably don't have a replacement for. Like, if you have Deshaun Watson on your team and you drafted him anytime recently, he's probably your quarterback 1 or quarterback 2 at worst. You don't have a replacement for him. But if I had to, I think I would. Deshaun Watson just looks so bad. I don't know. I'm concerned it's not going to turn around. So I think I would. It's tough, though. I'd rather have Gibbs.
Hutch had a lot of good to say early on in the show on Deshaun Watson, on how are we feeling about him dynasty-wise. And if you want to get that context, go back and watch like the first 10 minutes of the show.
I'm not feeling good about him. But I doubt him as low as Hutch because,
Hutch already had him really low.
Yeah, he has that ironclad contract, so that means that he's going to continue to play, whether we like it or not.
Give Pierce the excuse, but not Walker.
I don't understand.
I don't either, because
I don't understand.
Pierce also wasn't as highly ranked as Walker, and we gave context. Yeah.
Don't understand.
10 teams start 10. Oh, okay.
Oh, in a 10 team, I'll take the running backs. You can replace the quarterback more easily.
All right, we are moving and grooving.
I love that.
Should I accept Lockett to give up Mostert?
This is a redraft.
Yeah.
So a redraft, Lockett or Mostert. Don't really love either player. I mean, this week I have Mostert at RB 16, Lockett, wide receiver 25. So I think Lockett will, as long as he remains healthy, will have some value the rest of the year. Mostert has more value if you knew you were going to get the healthy games from Mostert, but I just feel like that's asking so much. So I think overall, based on the full year of production, I would lean Lockett over Mostert.
His wide receiver depth can cover his flexes, and I want that. I want Mostert right now because with Monty hurt, and I don't want to start Roschon Johnson.
I just can't with Mostert. I just feel like it's a ticking time bomb.
It is, but in redraft, you got to get that
Lockett's
win.
delivered every year consistently something, constantly. I mean, he's never not delivered.
What's your downgrade in points per game?
I just feel like it's easier to get a running back on the waiver wire than it is a wide receiver, especially a really startable one. I mean, how often? This is why I said dump all the fab on Puka Nacua, because getting a wide receiver of that caliber on the waiver wire is almost impossible. If you look at the wide receiver rankings, it's almost always players who are drafted. It's very rarely a breakout player breaks the top 30. But in running back, it happens all the time. So I think I would take Lockett and I would just try to focus on fixing other things because I don't know. That's what I would do.
This is another great Patreon question. So if you want this, you
any
either...
moves is a Patreon question.
Yep.
We're not doing any moves live.
12-team PPR. Should I trade AJ Brown?
Brown? No, I wouldn't do that. AJ Brown is just a very proven elite player. And in terms of the age curve, he's a 26-year-old wide receiver versus a 22-year-old running back. The 22-year-old running back is a little younger, but not significantly so in terms of the age curve. So
the rest of this question doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand the rest of the question.
So
but
I think he would be trading away Breece Hall.
Well, I'd rather have AJ Brown.
Yeah, I want AJ Brown.
I'd rather have AJ Brown in any format, in any whatever we're talking about. I'd rather have AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a good buy right now. I think in some super flex leagues you could get AJ Brown for like a first and like a player like Jerry Jeudy.
First and Godwin.
Yeah, I do that for AJ Brown.
Yeah. Dameon Pierce or Najee?
Najee because
Flip
he has
a
the
coin.
draft capital, but
These
were both hard sells for me before the season started. These are players I never wanted. These are players I don't have. So you're talking about players I literally would never have had. So these are players I do not want. If we're talking about who to start this week, which could also be the question, I would rather start Dameon Pierce because Dameon Pierce is not going to become the backup somehow. That's not going to happen. Devin Singletary is not going to become the starter. That's never going to happen. Dameon Pierce is going to be the starter. So I would stick with Dameon Pierce, I guess, even though I have him at running back 23. I'm not exactly excited. I have Alexander Mattison ahead of him, who was also terrible. So running back's brutal.
Cousins in a 25 second or Pickett in a 24 first?
I think I'll take Pickett in the first. Kirk Cousins,
QB1?
I like him. I am a little concerned with Kirk Cousins. I think this is a good time to move on. If you have an opportunity to move on, I think this is a good time. Because Kirk Cousins, literally, the best case scenario is that he stays in the situation he's in with the best weapons in the league, in the most fantasy-friendly offense in the league. This is the best case scenario. Anywhere else is a downgrade, including the 49ers. That might be an upgrade for real life, but it's not an upgrade for fantasy. He's better where he is. You're better with Justin Jefferson. I like Deebo Samuel. I like Brendan Ayuk. They're not Justin Jefferson. They're not. They're not even half of Justin Jefferson. The two combined are like Justin Jefferson. So, yeah,
yep.
we don't want to leave. So, and I am very concerned that he's going to leave. This is a team in flux that's not doing well and who doesn't have him under contract next year and who cannot franchise tag him because it will be a third franchise tag, which would be like $80 million. So they're kind of over a barrel. And if he leaves and like signs somewhere random, I mean, 49ers are good. They're still a downgrade, but like, what if he signs with, I don't know. I mean, who's going to need who?
Tampa.
I mean, that's a downgrade.
For sure. You need like 30-year-old.
Not a death sentence, but it's a downgrade. And that's not even the worst scenario. I mean, Tampa without Mike Evans is, not great. But like, that it's tough. It's tough. Like, what if he signs with the Titans?
I mean, they're not going to go draft another second round quarterback, are they?
Who knows? I'm just saying, like.
No, I'm just poking fun at them.
What if he signs with the Raiders? They move on from the Garoppolo experiment and start the Cousins experiment. Like, I don't know. There's no guarantee he goes back to Minnesota, and nowhere is an upgrade. He's literally he's in the best offense for a quarterback. Number one, no running game and excellent receiving weapons. There is no better offense he could be in. So anywhere is a downgrade.
Like the only slight upgrade, not just compared to these other ones, is that we haven't mentioned is New England.
Oh.
But that's just hoping he can turn
mediocrity. New England is the horror show. That's like
he's got a
downgrade of epic proportions.
Mediocrity. He can hopefully turn mediocrity into
that's a downgrade of epic proportions. Again, that might be good for real life, but that's not going to be good for fantasy. So
terrible.
I'll take Pickett in the first because I just think that side has more potential value.
My only exception is if you think that this is your only chance to buy a quarterback and you need that to win your ship this year. You lost Rodgers, who you thought was going to get you there. The rest of your team is ready to go, and Pickett's just not it. That's the only exception for why
I would do it. I just can't. I can't do it. I feel like you're going to regret it.
More than likely, yes, because only one team wins the championship every year.
Yeah.
But all right. Mostert, Najee, and Love for Garrett Wilson, Fields, Gainwell. I'm going to assume it's not super flex.
But
it's Garrett Wilson's side, right?
Yeah. It's the Garrett Wilson side no matter what.
It's Garrett Wilson without Fields.
Yeah, it's Garrett Wilson easily, no matter what.
Congratulations on Team Music. That was a great trade.
Yeah, that's the best trade we've seen today.
Kyler, a good buy target given where Arizona should be drafted next year, or is Caleb a concern?
What is the buying price?
QB
like
15?
Yeah, that's where I have him. Kyler, to me, Kyler's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL in 2023. Like that is not in doubt to me. The question is Kyler's going to be good again? Like, is he going to be able to ever run like he used to? Because if he can't, he's not going to be that good. And also, we have all the other problems with Kyler, the bad attitude, the inconsistent play. There were a lot of other issues. So I'm okay with him. Like, if Kyler were playing today, I'd probably rank him ahead of Watson and Fields and maybe even Dak. But I'm just concerned. I think I need to see him run again. Because if he can't run, he's not that special. Like he'll be fine. I mean, and I do think there's a universe in which that is what occurs. Kyler comes back. He's fine for the NFL. He plays out his contract. He doesn't kill whichever team acquires him, but he's not Kyler Murray of old. I think that's the most likely outcome. But the reason his value is still high is because the ceiling outcome is still there. So, depends.
I have Ritter, London.
Kyler might be a good way to get out of Fields or Watson shares, though. If you can still get Kyler plus for those players, I might do it.
He has all the Atlanta Falcons. Are you okay with starting all 5 against the Lions this week?
So I have Bijan Robinson at RB3, Tyler Allgeier at RB26, Drake London at wide receiver 31, Kyle Pitts at tight end 12, and Ritter at quarterback 28. So, yeah, I'd rather not.
There's other options before starting Ritter.
Yeah. Bijan is the only must start. Pitts, I see a lot of people saying you can't start Pitts. Tight end is very weak. I do still have him at tight end 12, but we're past the point, and we were past the point of this last week, but certainly we're past the point this week of him being a must start. This is a better matchup, but yeah, I have him at, to me, the tight end must starts are Kelsey, Hawk, Andrews, Waller, Kittle, Evan Ingram, actually, Dallas Goedert, and Sam Laporta, at least until Jameson Williams comes back and challenges for more targets. Those are the 8 must starts. And then everyone else is kind of streaming.
So that question about A.J. Brown for Breece Hall or whatever.
Take A.J. Brown anyway. You can deal with it later.
No one has RB depth.
That's true. Nobody does. I mean, they've been decimated. I mean, look at the RB injury list.
Sorry, can I show you my league mates roster?
Sure.
He sent me a message after I had traded him. I was decided to start rebuilding after a conversation with Tyler after we went off the air on Tuesday night. And I sent him Aaron Jones and Saquon Barkley. Already on his team in a start 3 running back league, he also had Austin Eckler. He also had Nick Chubb.
Oh, boy.
He went from ready to go compete, should be a top 2 or 3 team in the league, to am I going to make the playoffs? Is my team done? And I just traded away my 2024 first and my 2025 first, along with Jerome Ford and Kendre Miller and another piece or 2.
I mean, it's very possible that at the turn, you picked Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb. And then in like the mid rounds, you picked up like Aaron Jones. And then one of your later round picks was J.K. Dobbins. And you have nothing. So it's brutal.
You play and you keep going and you figure it out 1 week at a time.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Cousins could go to Atlanta.
I actually would low-key like that for Atlanta to win a Super Bowl, but for Kirk Cousins' fantasy value, it would be a massive downgrade.
Old Nudie also has Cousins going to Atlanta.
Yeah, I could
you got
see
all those cheap assets as for weapons, and they have no argument to be made that they should be paid more. So none of them are in fear of holding out because they want a better contract, because you're going to tell Drake London, who had 1 target in week 1, hey, I deserve a pay raise. And they're going to say, hey, you only got 1 target in week 1. Why would we give you more money? And then Kyle Pitts is going to say,
think
I'm a generational talent.
You do run the risk of what if Kyle Pitts is like, and Drake London are like, we demand a trade. We demand a trade. You can't fix it with a contract. We demand a trade. We want out. You do run a risk of that.
And they sit down and they feed the ball to Matt Collins.
It won't work.
Arthur Smith won't care.
I know, but
the sad thing is that there's absolutely no leverage, because I don't think they're going to recoup what they want and what they know that they're worth. And they'll let them not till a calendar year, and they'll sit there.
I mean, Hollywood Brown got out of Baltimore.
He did, but that was because they paid a first-round pick for him back, and they got back exactly what they spent.
Yeah, it's possible that
you're not getting a pick
happen.
4 overall for Kyle Pitts.
No, not 4 overall, but
I don't know if you're getting a first-round pick from a random NFL team for Kyle Pitts.
I wonder. We'll have to see.
I wonder if there's also been some. I'm not good enough at player development, understanding that, and very limited gameplay to see if Kyle Pitts hasn't developed as well as he should have, or as well as we thought he would. Where the talent was there, but he just hasn't. Something isn't fully clicking on the field as well. In addition to Arthur Smith just not calling plays for him.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. There are smarter people than I that make those decisions.
I do think that if they had a competent quarterback, they would throw the ball.
Oh, for sure.
But they don't.
If they had a Kirk Cousins back there, they would throw the football.
Yeah.
More. Not 40 times a game, but 30.
Desmond, it's the kind of thing where they could, if they go 10-7 and win the division, I do think, unfortunately, that means Arthur Smith will keep his job, but that doesn't mean that Desmond Ridder will keep his job. If Desmond Ridder played poor, I mean, the Bears made the playoffs and still sent Mitch Trubisky packing. So,
but was Mitch Trubisky they didn't re-sign him,
right? But
Desmond Ridder is still under contract. I don't know if you walk away from.
Easily just get another quarterback. I mean, they signed Taylor Heineke. I mean, they could easily just get someone else.
People at halftime were wanting Taylor Heineke to come into the game.
Yeah, I think that if they go 10-7 and make the playoffs, the credit will go to from the front office will go to the coach. I think they see that the quarterback is bad. They'll give credit to the coach for doing well in spite of the quarterback.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Tingley has a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel starting Bears running backs against the Chiefs?
Chiefs have a good run defense. And the game script is almost certainly going to be against the Bears. So not great. I have Khalil Herbert at RB30 and Roschon Johnson at RB33. I think that's part of the problem, is that they're splitting work too evenly. Game script isn't good, so I'll take try not to start them.
Based off our conversation about Lamar earlier, do you think we could pull off like a Lamar and Dubs for Tua and Purdy? I'm assuming Superflex.
In a Superflex, I'd rather have Tua and Purdy.
I think so too. I would rather have that. I'm not sending you back a terrible trade offer in response to that to basically tell you to fuck off. But I'm probably not accepting that trade offer.
Yeah, I think that Purdy is starting to get a full stranglehold on that long-term starting job. I still have guys with draft capital like Love and Pickett slightly ahead in Dynasty, but that is not that, that's not that far away from changing if Purdy continues to play well, and especially Pickett continues to play not great, although he was better this week than he was the week before.
The arm strength concerns that we had for Brock Purdy, I'm not as concerned about it as I was before.
I'm also not as concerned about the injury as I was before.
Yep.
But
he's fine. He's going to be fine. He's what the 49ers want right now. And
yeah,
he's going to lead them to at least 12 or 13 wins.
I still don't think Brock Purdy's ever going to be an elite fantasy asset. He hasn't this year. And I don't think he wasn't last year.
He wasn't.
And
he was salvageable off. He was salvageable at the end of the year when we had, and especially in Superflex, where we had guys like Carr get benched. We had Kyler go down. He was that rescue quarterback that he was like QB 11 down the stretch in the games that he played once he was in full time.
But also this year, you've seen what happens when the touchdown regression goes against you.
Mm-hmm.
He's had only 3 total touchdowns in the 2 weeks, 1 on the ground. And, there have been 3 rushing touchdowns between Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. So the touchdown regression has gone slightly against him, and 213 yards per game is reasonable for him. He's not really running, and the touchdown regression is not in his favor like it was last year. So he's, if fully healthy, he's like a streaming quarterback in the streaming range. This week, I actually have him pretty high. Against the Giants, I like the matchup. I have him at quarterback 12 and a 6.13 and a 4-point. So
he was QB 10 week 1 in a 4-point league, and QB 24 and last week, just because that's without the touchdowns.
Yeah, and I think this is the best matchup he'll face.
Yep.
Giants at home. I think it's a very good matchup. So even in the best matchup possible, in 6-point, his preferred scoring, I only have him at quarterback 12 for the week. That's the best case scenario. This is about as good as it gets.
So fine for Superflex is your QB2, but you're not. I don't want him in redraft.
I don't even know if he's my QB2 in Superflex. I feel like my quarterback position is weak. I would prefer him to be my QB3. I wouldn't want him to be QB2. Like the kind of Superflex team I could have.
Sure, we'd all love. I'd love to have Joe Burrow as my QB3 as well.
No, I mean. It's the kind of thing where, if I was drafting early in the round or even later, I could have Trevor Lawrence as quarterback 1. Then someone like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is my long-term QB2. And then Brock Purdy is my QB3 long in Dynasty and QB2 for now. That kind of team would be the kind of Superflex team I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead.
12-man PPR, somebody offered me Jamar Chase and Jerome Ford for James Cook and Olave. But my only other running backs are Miles Sanders, Zach Moss, Kenny Gainwell, and Hubbard. Should I accept it?
Get
Jamar Chase.
I'll take Chase. I have 0 concerns with Jamar Chase. I'll take Chase.
I'm not worried about your other running backs.
I'm not worried about Chase yet.
So we are at the bottom of the chat.
Yeah.
We hit on a lot of the big things from the top of the show sheet.
Yeah, I think we hit on everything.
Right off the top.
Is there anything else you want to tell the people?
We didn't talk about Cam Akers much.
Oh, we didn't.
Like the trade block. Just we talked Kyren Williams up, but we didn't mention much about
Cam Akers. Interesting. Well, the Browns are going to add a running back for sure. I think that's going to be Kareem Hunt. But Cam Akers, you think he's going to be traded?
I think he needs to be. This is go around like 3 of Cam Akers needing to be traded or wanting to be traded. It's time. LA just needs to cut the ties and be done with it. But
I don't think we're going to go through another cycle of Cam Akers. I think we're going to end this drama soon.
I could see them putting Cam Akers on like a away from team list and unable to perform, and some type of list where he's not counted against anything but not on the IR, but also they're not going to release him. There's no reason to release him and get nothing for him.
Yeah. But I do think they might, because I just think I think this time they might actually do that, because I think they just want the situation to be over. It's a distraction.
But is it?
Yes, because we're talking about it. They're talking about it on the media. Sean McVay is going to be asked about it. It's a distraction. At this point, this is the last year of his contract. So if you just don't want him around, I think it might be worth it to just be like, goodbye. Like, I don't think squatting on Cam Akers is. I think they did that last year because there was still another year of the contract. But I think I really do. I don't. He literally said we would like to get him out of here. Like, once a GM says that, we would like to remove this player from our team, they don't squat on that player. That player is either traded for something minimal or removed from the team very quickly. This is not going to last multiple weeks. I think by Sunday, he will be out of the Rams, and then we'll see where he goes after that.
I've seen Packers fans calling for them to trade for him.
Oh, this is not going to happen.
And I'm like, stop
This
it.
is not going to happen. The teams that could trade for Cam Akers are the Browns. He would actually fit in very well there. Better than Kareem Hunt. He would fit in well as like the early down can't catch passes grinder to play the boring carries with Jerome Ford to be back in his original role expanded. He would also fit in on the Ravens. 1-for-1 swap for what J.K. Dobbins offered. But he's not going to be good anywhere he goes. He obviously causes trouble on every coaching staff. The Giants, maybe. Depends on how they feel about their backups. There are a lot of teams that need running back. The Chargers, I mean, Joshua Kelley did not do it. And Austin Eckler is, who knows when he's going to return. He wouldn't have to go very far.
And if you're Austin Eckler, do you really want to come back? Team chose not to pay you?
I thought about that. I actually thought
Team
about
chose
that.
not to pay you?
Oh, no.
They're now 0-2?
Unfortunate.
What are you playing for?
I'm not feeling well. Oh, my ankle. It's going to take a long time. I'm not going to come back until I'm fully ready. It's going to be a while.
Still got to play the Chiefs twice. Still got to play the Broncos twice.
I actually thought about that. I thought about that. Like, he's not going to rush back.
Broncos safety's been headhunting. I'm not going to play against that.
No, I don't want that.
I don't want to have headaches for a week or two.
And then the Vikings. The Vikings are in need of a running back. Alexander Mattison is unacceptable. I will say, people were treating Alexander Mattison in a totally horrible fashion. I don't encourage anything like that. It's no good. We can dislike a player's play on the field, which really has nothing to do with them as a person. Now, sometimes I do say things about, these people as people. Deshaun Watson, I have a comment about Deshaun Watson as a person, and I have a comment. I don't care for him as a person. That's separate. There are some times where people do things where they're disruptive. Carson Wentz clearly causes disruption. Every locker room he goes to, a disruption. There are sometimes players who are a little disruptive. Fair enough. But we're not going to be like, I'm not going to call players any names or anything. That's just not going to work. We can't have that. We can't have that because these are, they're human beings. We wouldn't want to be called names like that or anything. So we can't have that. So it's one thing to say that a player is disruptive or causes trouble in the locker room. I think that's fair. But to use horrible language to describe players, we can't have. So just in case anyone was wondering about my opinion about that, as someone who's outspoken and sometimes critical of players for their poor play, it doesn't really say anything about how I feel about them as people. I don't know them.
And at the end of the day, all the accounts that sent him those messages, not one of them had their own face attached to it.
I know. I love that. They never do.
So we're out here as content creators.
Yeah, you can see me.
As real life people. You guys have seen my name in the chat. We know Tyler's name. But we're going to be honest with you, and we're going to talk about players. We're never going to downgrade who they are as a person unless they actually are a piece of shit.
Like Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
So, but I also think that it is fair to say that some players have a better work ethic or are, more reliable than others. Players who tell the fantasy community to go fuck themselves, like Josh Jacobs, are probably not going to be high on my list of my favorites, right? Players like Austin Eckler who take time to record fantasy content, who do interviews with fantasy creators. Maybe those players, maybe I'll like them a little bit more, I mean, there are I'm a human being. When people are nice to the community that I'm a part of, those players kind of get a little brownie points. When players tell the fantasy community to go fuck themselves, maybe those players get a little not brownie points. I want to be treated nicely too. I don't want to be told to go fuck myself. So, it cuts both ways. At the end of the day, fantasy football provides a lot of revenue for these players' salaries. They would not be as high without fantasy football. Austin Eckler would not be, and I think he recognizes this, would not be paid what he is paid without the fantasy football industry. It's part of the reason why the NFL and DraftKings and FanDuel and things like that, it's part of the reason why the NFL has grown so much in revenue. So I think he recognizes that and, appreciates, at the end of the day, fans and gamblers and fantasy football players who are part of the money-making machine that is the NFL. So I really appreciate him for that, for not just like looking down upon us because we're not playing. So it's something I always appreciate when players like Eckler, and there's a few other players, but he's like the most high-profile one who has do things like that, because it's a nice gesture to a community that loves the NFL. At the end of the day, I mean, we're the biggest fans of all. The fantasy footballers, you see they're following, and you see kind of what
we're the reason for like Red Zone being a thing.
Yeah.
And being consistently watched. And
Red Zone is a fantasy football product. I mean, they have fantasy football on the screen all the time. And it's, as someone who knows, like, DraftKings and FanDuel are, like, how much revenue they bring into the NFL.
ESPN's cut down on their regular just NFL countdown content because
people don't want it.
Let's do a fantasy show.
They want fantasy, they want props, they want gambling. That's what they want. That's what people want. There's a couple more questions that came in. Let's look at those.
CMC, Javonte, and Pacheco are running backs. They are.
They are
running backs.
They do play the running back position.
How much fab should I put out?
CMC probably wants to say he plays the wide receiver position.
Out of 120 on Ford.
Everything. And redraft, I'll put everything. I'll put everything because you had your opportunity to get the year receiver in Puka Nacua. That opportunity is gone. Receivers don't usually like that, don't come out in the middle of the year. So if you miss that opportunity, this is the next best opportunity. This is someone who's going to be a startable running back for the rest of the year. Nick Chubb is not coming back. As sad as that is, he's gone. Whoever they bring in is not going to be the starter. Jerome Ford is. So this is an opportunity. I mean, this is your opportunity. So I'm willing to bid whatever it takes.
Sir Godwin or Addison?
Godwin.
Addison.
Oh. No, definitely not. I mean, Addison was still running third in routes. He didn't get a lot of targets. Godwin had many more targets. He just didn't score. The matchup against Philly, I mean, yes, we like the Philly defense, but I would say Tampa's going to be playing from behind. The volume's going to be there. Addison, the matchup against the Chargers, it's a nice matchup. I do have him wide receiver 32, but the playing time's just not there. All right, yeah.
Never mind. I think my wife's got her.
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay. We're on.
Sorry
long show.
For those of you who can hear it through the microphone or not, my almost 2-year-old's crying. So it's been a great show. I had a good time.
What's up?
And I think we touched on almost everything.
Oh yeah, we did well.
Make sure to get your waiver wire ads in.
Yes,
it's easy to get lazy as the season goes on, but just it's worth it. Just double check your teams, see who's out there. Hutch gave great tips on look up these guys and use the availability in other leagues function.
Hutch is great. Use that sleeper tool. Use the Fantasy Pros tool if you like that. Those are the two tools that I think are the best.
So
and then if you're still here, of course, make sure to leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. Always sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/fantasy advice. I'm going to put the link in the chat. There's your link for the Patreon. If you join the Patreon, you can ask questions for the Ask Tyler shows. Anyone can watch them, but you have to be a patron to ask questions. All those questions come from patrons, and the answers and video are posted here on YouTube. And then it hasn't been many lately, but I do shorts on this YouTube channel as well. So if you're subscribed to the YouTube, you'll see those. And yeah, it was a good show.
Leave a comment right after we get off the air.
Yes,
It really
that helps
us
the
with
algorithm the most. The second we get off the air, comments right then and there help the algorithm the most. It's a good point. And then next week, same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be here to recap week 3. Can't believe it already. I want to thank Patrick for being the Iron Man of the show. And I think that's it, right?
Yeah. That's all I got.
I'll see you all later. Peace.